everybody, I'm Roy Firestone, and this is Up Close Primetime. Tonight, a look back with one of baseball's originals. Caray died at the age of 77 earlier this week. He was one of the most beloved figures in the history of the game. He's been on our show numerous times between 1984 and 1994. So tonight, a look back, respectfully and affectionately, to a guy that, well, we were just wild about. In fact, Caray was just wild about baseball.
You know what's incredible, Harry? It's over 6,000 games, regular season, in the 40 years that you've done it.
I never kept track of it. It's got to be even more than that when you figure all the exhibition games and so forth. I'm proud of the fact, the item you mentioned, I never have missed a time at bat. Not a half inning, not a day of a game I was supposed to do. And much is made over about my style of living. Well, all I know is a lot of guys that don't drink booze and a lot of guys that get 10 hours sleep every day don't show up for work. They got a headache, they got pneumonia, they got leukemia, whatever. Something they got that keeps them from working. Now, the way I live, either I'm indestructible or maybe I'm living the right kind of life. I always say the reason the reason for my longevity is the fact that I live a clean, healthy, wholesome, normal life.
If there's one thing that's intriguing about you, Harry, it's your passion for the game. You don't have to be a Harry Caray fan to admit the fact that when you call a game, it comes from the heart. I'm going to roll up the videotape and show you a game back in 1979 when you were calling one for the White Sox in extra innings. Listen.
There's a long drive. It's going to be out of here. Holy cow. Holy cow. How about it? What did I tell you? 3 runs in a hurry.
The polka, Harry. Play the polka.
They're dancing in the streets in Chicago.
Look at the band's going home.
Look at it. The mass exodus. Holy cow.
You enjoy this game so much. I want to know how much of an extension of yourself is in this game. I mean, really, if you took baseball away from Harry Caray, you'd be taking a great deal out.
Oh, that's, of course. That's why I'm working. I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't broadcasting baseball. I love it. And, you know, after being the broadcaster for the St. Louis Cardinals 25 years and thinking I was going to get a gold watch and getting a pink slip instead, I looked with trepidation to going to another city and broadcasting for another team. I thought that it was the Cardinals that I was so much in love with. And it just proved to me what now has become one of the most important lessons I ever learned by leaving the Cardinals, going to Oakland. I found myself as enthused about Reggie Jackson, then only 21 years old, Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, Don Mincherts, Catfish Hunter, Raleigh Fingers. You know, that's when I realized it's the game. It doesn't make any difference who's playing. I'll bet you if I did a Little League game, I would be just as excited. And the other thing about it, that's the way the fans are. I think if I'm an extension of anything, I'm an extension of the fan. I'll bet you if you put a microphone in front of the fan out there at Dodger Stadium tonight, for example, his voice pattern would be the same as mine. You would get the disgust. You'd get the ecstasy. You'd get the exuberance. You'd get the depression. You'd get the petty peeviness, if there is such a word. You know,
you could create your own words.
Yeah, right. Why not? This is the way it is. I mean, I'm a fan. I love baseball. I love all baseball. I've never seen a ball player I didn't like.
Quickly, the game of baseball. You could sum it up.
Oh, it's life. It's life itself. I'm sure that other more learned men can give you a better description of it, Bill Veck being one of them. But to me, it is the, it's the zenith of what you can get out of life. But number one, it's a Horatio Alger story. Almost every guy you see out there is doing something that every kid somewhere in this great land of ours aspires to do someday.
In 40 years, this stat may be in the Ripley's, believe it or not. He has never missed a single inning of a baseball game. 40 years. There's a great anecdote, Harry, about the fact that when you were in St. Louis, you were involved in an accident. In fact, I think a car hit you.
That's right.
There was a severe doubt as to whether you'd even make it to the broadcast booth that season, but tell the story about opening day and the question in everyone's mind.
Well, you know, I had crutches all through spring training. Now opening day, 50,000 people at Bush Memorial Stadium, and I walk out with canes. Well, you know, I hadn't used canes for 2 weeks. But there's a certain amount of show business in this business. So I get out for the first base line with these canes, you know, and I stop and I look around at the crowd and I throw one of the canes up and the crowd goes bananas. Now I continue to walk with one cane. The microphone's on the pitcher's mound. I'm going to preside over the opening day ceremonies. And before I get to the microphone, I stop, I look around at the crowd, and I throw the other cane away. Oh, boy, a standing ovation, a big roar. And now, after I leave the field, I'm in the dugout, and Bob Gibson, who's the star pitcher of the Cardinals, said to me, Harry, he said, you were walking without canes 2 weeks ago. What is all this stuff? I said, it's showbiz, Gibby, it's showbiz.
Baseball was the constant, especially in the Midwest and in the South. And Harry Caray was the constant sound that you heard every night.
Welcome back to Up Close Primetime. I'm Roy Firestone. This retrospective on the late Harry Caray. You know, Harry spent 57 years behind the microphone. He had a whole lot of life experiences, and he enjoyed so many of them. So you enjoy them as he reflects on them.
And over the years, Harry has developed quite a following, as you might understand. Frank Sinatra is a big fan. Richard Daley, of course, the late mayor of Chicago was. Bill Cosby still is. Tom Bosley. And a certain rock and roll singer from Memphis was a big fan of Harry Caray's. You got to tell this story about Elvis.
Well, it is sort of a funny story in a way. The St. Louis Hawks were owned by Ben Kerner, and in Memphis they had built a new football stadium and also a field house. And the Hawks played 12 consecutive Monday night games, and we televised them back in the St. Louis. I think Ben Kerner was trying to test the market. And so I'd go down there, fly down there on Monday morning and do the game Monday night and come back. Well, one Monday afternoon, I'm in my hotel room, and the phone rings, and I pick it up, and Harry Caray, yes, you know, this a fan of yours? Well, you know, and you want to talk about the Cardinals, so forth, and, you know, Harry, this is Elvis. Yeah, sure, Elvis, you know, and finally, Elvis Presley. I said, don't give me that stuff. Harry, he said, this is Elvis Presley. He said, you're in my town. Oh, I said, cut it out. He said, if you'll come out in front of your hotel in 10 minutes, I'll prove it to you. I said, okay. Go down in front of the hotel. Here comes the Rolls Royce. Out jumps Elvis Presley, shakes hands. I get in the car, go over to his house, and sit around and talk with him. Now it's time to go to the arena to do the basketball game. And I'm thinking, boy, what a coup this would be to have Elvis Presley alongside of me.
What a color man.
Right. And I'm talking to him. He said, Harry, I'd be happy to do it for you. He said, but you know what would happen if I did it? I said, no, what? He said, if I walked into that new field house, he said, they'll wreck the joint. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He says, I know when your broadcast ends. He said, we get it here. And he says, we'll pick you up 10 minutes after the game is over. All right. Game is over. Elvis picks, not Elvis, but one of his fellows picks me up in a Cadillac, takes me out to the house. We sit around, just to show you the sensitivity of the guy. We sit around drinking, laughing. He sings songs, all this stuff. And suddenly he says, Harry, he says, when could you have had dinner? I said, well, I didn't. He said, that's right. You were here until 6:30. Went right over to the field house. He said, you couldn't have eaten. He said, I'll bet you're starved. He says, you like barbecue ribs? I said, yeah. He says, okay. Gets on the phone. There's a place called a Rendezvous. I later became a regular customer. They bring a barrel of barbecue ribs. I sit around till 5, 6 in the morning eating barbecue ribs and chit-chatting with Elvis Presley.
The story that I hear, the story that I hear is that when President Reagan called you to congratulate you, you had a nice friendly chat, but when Bobby Denier got on base, you hung up on it. Hey, Mr. President, Bobby Denier just got on base.
No, I said, no, I didn't. I was very, very, very much touched by the call. And it was just, you know, the first day back, and all kinds of things happened. I'll tell you a little bit later on, if you have time, about the singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. But the president was so nice, and, you know, how in the world, with all the things on his mind, he'd think of calling. And I was very, very touched by that. But the game was going on, and Bobby Dernier had just laid down the bunt. And I said, Mr. President, I really appreciate your calling, but I got to get back to the ball game. Bobby Dernier just beat out a bunt.
Some people stay consistent with the love they have for Harry Caray. Other people waver. Take the case of Einhorn, the owner of the White Sox, and Reisdorf. This past week, of course, you used to work for them. They loved you when you worked for them. This past week, they took a knock at Harry.
Well, it's funny, you know, they tried like the devil to keep me there, and I didn't like them, and I didn't trust them when I first met them. I worked for them 1 year. At the end of the year, I didn't like them more. I trusted them less. And now, 3 years later, I still don't like him, and I don't trust him. Now, I don't know why they bum-rapped me. It was my decision to make. They could have signed me right after the season, but they didn't. I was a free agent. When I began thinking of the numbers, when I got thinking about the sports vision, you know, the year before, when I signed, you know, I only worked for them 1 year. When I signed, they were insistent that I sign a 3-year contract. I refused to do it because I didn't know. I had this feeling of antipathy about these guys. Now, after I worked for them 1 year, and they want to go into a new thing called sports vision, where you have to pay to watch the games, and here the Cubs doing it for free on the other side of town. Now I wanted some security. So our negotiation was as to whether I would get a 3-year contract, which they wanted to give me a year before, and I refused. But now I wanted to get, and they refused. So now I got thinking, they're talking to me about 50,000 homes. Well, you know, last year they finished the most exciting year in the history of Chicago baseball, and they still had only 16,000 homes. But I got thinking about 50,000 homes. In Chicago, a market like that, what's 50,000 homes? I could see my friends, the cab drivers, the bartenders, the shut-ins, the handicapped, the underprivileged, the people who made Harry Caray, whatever he might be today, they couldn't afford it. So I could see myself at the end of the year, these people saying, Harry who? Because they had no contact with me.
Yeah. Hey, what took them so long, honestly, in bringing you into the Hall of Fame? You had to wait too long. And for a while there, you told Skip Caray, that, you know, if I'm gone and they want to do it posthumously, I don't think I want to be part of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I don't know what took so long. I never even thought about it, Roy. I considered it like joining a fraternity. If they invite you, you join. If they don't invite you, they don't. All the other broadcasters who were there are good friends of mine, contemporaries of mine. I was tickled to death every time one of them went in. But I never thought of it from an individual basis until guys like you began to ask me the last few years when it became quite obvious that, you know, that somebody had it against me.
I'm wondering if tact didn't have something to do with it.
Well, I don't know.
You say the things
I may have stepped on somebody's toes.
Right.
But let me tell you something. If the same thing happened again, and I don't know what it is that I stepped on their toes about, but the only reason I stepped on their toes is because I felt deeply about what I was talking about.
You got to put your hat on.
Oh, got my hat here, too. I love my hat.
Atta girl.
Here the guy has passed, yet we're talking about all the good memories and all the great lines he's had over the years, and I think Harry would probably want it that way.
A lot of people grew up listening to Harry Caray, and I was told more than once that people would go to Cardinal games and be disappointed because the game wasn't quite as exciting as the one they heard Harry Caray describe. He was equal parts baseball play-by-play man in terms of craft and P.T. Barnum trying to get the people into the pen.
There it goes! Way back! It might be! It's Holy cow!
Welcome back to our up-close primetime retrospective on the life and times of Harry Caray. In a few moments, more with Harry. We'd like to take this opportunity to remind you about our show March 10th, our March Madness special. Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, Lute Olson, Bobby Knight, and more. That's March 10th, up-close primetime. We'll see you then. We'll come back with more of Harry Caray after this.
Hello again, everybody. Harry Caray and Steve Stone and Tom Brennan. We're at Wrigley Field. I can't keep these big glasses on. Where's yours?
You're wearing them. That was my pair. You've already got your pair.
Well, we got to start winning some ball games.
I learned a lot from Harry. I learned a lot of good, and I learned a lot of bad. When I first joined him in 1954, that was a long time ago, he'd say something on the air. A pitcher would walk somebody with the bases loaded, and he'd say, "Get that guy out of there." I said, "My God, you're going to get us both fired."
There's a big difference between designer clothes and clothes designed for you.
Pitch! Popped it up! Can you believe it? $7 million a year, and he pops it up! What's the matter with him? Holy cow!
Welcome back to Up Close Primetime. I'm Roy Firestone. Well, his birth certificate said he was 83, but officially Harry Caray passed away at the age of 77. We don't really know how old he was. We do know this. He was a man filled with laughter, joy, passion, and a great and abiding love for the game. In fact, there was a lot of laughter around Harry Caray for the people who knew and loved him best, the people who made a living making fun of Harry.
What we're going to do now, Harry, is for your benefit, for all of us, these gentlemen are going to give us their insights as to how to do a good Harry Caray impression, okay? Let's start with Todd. Let me get your basic instincts. And your inspiration, of course, started because you grew up in Indiana, right?
Northwest Indiana, and the first time I met Harry was center field when he broadcast one of the White Sox games from center field.
Okay, so you immediately, you are drawn to the voice, and you are drawn to the impression.
The best trade the White Sox ever made was they traded their announcers to Oakland to get Harry Caray.
That's right. Okay, so give me the basic key ingredients to a good Harry impression.
The tongue.
The tongue.
Okay, you got to have a big tongue.
A big tongue.
Okay, you got to have a big, fat tongue in your mouth, okay, to do Harry Caray.
Okay, give us a little.
All right.
Harry Caray back at the ballpark. Here's Sandberg.
You get the tongue there, Sandberg.
Here's Sandberg, and here's the pitch. That wouldn't be a home run in a telephone booth.
You know, I don't like your Monday Night Live either.
Well, let me get another side of it now. Here's a gentleman who's made a career off of you, Harry, partially.
I've heard him do it a lot. And
Johnny,
with each doing, he gets better and better.
Johnny, I want to talk a little bit about what you look for, what the essence of the Harry Caray impression is.
Well, first of all, you have to get excited over little things.
Oh, little things.
You know, all of a sudden stuff just hits Harry in the booth. Out of nowhere, you're watching a game and you're,
Hey! Check out the kid with the sombrero. That's a good-looking youngster. Hey, don't forget Friday night's midget night here at Wrigley. Anybody accompanying a legal midget gets in free. Now, let's refrain from what the kids were doing last year, tossing little guys over the wall to let their buddies in. Remember, only one midget per customer. Hey! Hey!
Now what about, do you say hey a lot? I don't know, is it a lot of hey?
No. No, I never say hey. Jack Brickhouse used to say hey.
Right, right. Now, let me ask you another question, gentlemen. Maybe you have some insight. What is the thing with Harry and the microphone? Harry likes to swing the microphone. Is that from doing Take the...
In post-game shows, especially when he's doing the White Sox games, Chicken Unlimited was a big sponsor, okay? And he'd hold that microphone like a big drumstick in front of him. Hey, everybody, I'll be going out to Chicken Unlimited after the game. And after that, we'll see you at Butch McGuire's. So long, everybody.
Don't forget the bottle of Budweiser. With the chicken, right?
Because you're a Bud man and a Cub fan.
you got to get the laugh.
Yeah.
The laugh
So you get the laugh down, too?
Yeah, because he likes to laugh at his own jokes.
Okay.
Hey, walking fuss backwards is stuff a cow.
How about Winnemucca? Dangster spelled backwards comes out on Sky.
Harry, you like to start out a lot of sentences with, here's a guy. And he gets into these, I just can't figure it out, Jags.
Here's a guy, Dave Concepcion, who grew up in the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, one of the islands where the sun shines 365 days a year, and he misses a pop-up in the sun. I just can't figure it out.
I really can't.
What is it that inspired you? Maybe one of the reasons you got into this business for this guy right here.
Absolutely, because he was the type of guy who said exactly what was on your mind. You know, you'd see a guy in the batter's box, and Harry would say something like, I don't know how he can hit a ball with a stance like that. Absolutely has nothing to do with the play-by-play of the game, but as you're a fan watching the guy in the batter's box, you know, he would say it. He would say it.
The honesty and the passion, too.
The absolute honesty.
You know, John, that's true. You cannot find more passion behind that mic, more love for the game than Harry's.
Well, it's the genuineness, I think, that comes through. The fun and the enthusiasm just comes through so much. And that rubs off on you. And you watch the game, and you're with your buddy, and you think, this guy could be right at the bar with you watching the game. And that's how he announces the game. It's the honesty.
You know, actually, that is exactly it. I'll bet you'd put a microphone around the neck of anybody.
his voice pattern, I mean a fan, sitting in the bleachers, in the grandstand, box seat, his voice pattern be the same as mine. He'd be ecstatic when something good happened, depressed as heck when something bad happened, and it all shows. And this is what I say when people talk to me about my style. I describe it as a style of a great fan of the game. And when I go to the ballpark, I never want to say anything critical about anybody. But when the ground ball roll through their legs and tying a winning run score, or when the great team hitter gets up with the bases loaded, a long fly would tie it, strikes out, I've never found a way to make a good hitter sound good striking out when it'll cost you the ball game.
Wrigley Field's not going to be the same without Harry singing during the 7th inning. That was always something I even looked forward to as a player, and I heard it every day, and I still look forward to hearing it. And, you know, he's going to a better place, and he'll be okay.
Welcome back to our Harry Caray retrospective. I'm Roy Firestone, and this is Up Close Primetime. In our final segment, what else can you say? Here's Harry Caray on Harry Caray.
Names, places, the past. St. Louis, your hometown.
St. Louis, I was born and raised. It's my hometown. I have roots there. I live now in Chicago. I'm happy in Chicago. I have a home in Palm Springs. I watch your show all winter long.
Okay, thanks, Harry. Dutchie, your wife.
My lovely wife. It's 3 strikes, you're out even in my personal life. I had 2 previous wives. I'm paying 2 alimonies. I finally hit a home run on my 3rd pitch.
Finally, Harry Caray.
Oh, pretty nice guy, I think. Honest, maybe to a fault, but I've done it my way. Frank, I'm sorry I have to use your song, but I've done it my way. I've had choices, and I made my decisions, and I'm happy. I'm happy with what I am.
What would you like people to say about you when your time does come and you are gone?
I've never thought about that, and I don't want anybody else to think about it. I wanted to think about baseball because this game will go on before me and it's going to go on after me, and I want people just to think. If I brought anybody enjoyment while I was here, that's ample thought.
A loved man, truly, in the game of baseball. Harry Caray.
All right! Let me hear you!
Harry Christopher Carabiner has done all the things that a light should do, but it is the vibrance, the brightness of that light that is truly remarkable. Years ago, Harry told me that the secret to one's success in life is not taking yourself too seriously, but taking your responsibility very seriously. I recall him telling me that he felt a special kinship with the shut-ins, the lonely, and the disenfranchised. He is the voice he felt. He is their eyes. And in some sense, his joy is their joy.
We enjoyed his 57-year career in broadcasting. We know he had millions of fans who loved him. So long, Harry.